It's November 2012. The election has just resolved. President Obama has been re-elected for a second term. Let's look at the budget and where we are with some issues related to that. Here we're on the website of Office of Management and Budget. And you can see as we go down the document list, there's summary headings here. And then there are the departments of the government: Department of Agriculture, Commerce, Defense, National Intelligence Program, Education, Department of Energy, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Homeland Security, Interior, Justice, Labor, Transportation, the Department of the Treasury, Veteran Affairs. All the departments and offices that you think of when we're talking about the U.S. government. Let's look at the budget and just what's going on right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to the summary tables, and we're going to take a close look at Table S5, Proposed Budget by Category. And let me zoom in on that so you can read this a little better. This is the proposed budget by category, and it lists all the years going forward, starting with 2011. So the outlays, the money that's being spent by government, is in two headings. Basically, it's the appropriated, that is the discretionary programs, and that's broken into security and non-security. Security is DOD and related activities. Non-security is everything else. Department of Interior, Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce, Small Business Administration, all of that. That's the government that you think of when you think of the United States federal government. Then there are the mandatory programs: Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the TARP program, and then other mandatory programs such as federal retirement programs. Let's look at the outlays. In 2011, total operating government, both security, which is DOD and related programs, and non-security, which is everything else, the total of those programs, I'll zoom in again so you can see this, was $1.3 trillion. That's the budget. For the mandatory programs, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, TARP, and other programs, that was $2 trillion. And then there's the interest on the debt. That's $230 billion. You add these together and you get the total outlays. In 2011, the budget was $3.6 trillion. Underneath that, we get to look at the receipts. Where does money come from? It comes from individual taxes, a little over $1 trillion. Corporate taxes, $181 billion. Then there are the Social Security withholdings, 566, 188, etc. And then there are the other operating sources of income: excise taxes, estate and gift taxes, custom duties, and then other miscellaneous receipts. And that's the total income, $2.3 trillion. So the outlay is $3.6 trillion. The income is $2.3. That means the deficit is $1.3 trillion. An interesting thing to look at is the total cost of operating the government is $1.3 trillion. We actually had to borrow that entire amount in 2011 for every aspect of the operating federal government: DOD, Department of Interior, Commerce, Agriculture, all of those. We didn't have enough money for. We had to borrow it. Let's look at 2012. Operating government, $1.3 trillion. And then the interest, $225. And then the non-discretionary programs, $2.2 trillion. The total was $3.7. And what is the income? Total income, $2.4. Subtract 1.3 from 2.4, and we had to borrow $1.3 trillion, a little over $1.3 trillion. We had to borrow, but let's look at 2012. The total cost of operating the government was $1.319. We had to borrow the entire operating budget in 2012 again. Take a look at this table, Table S5 in the budget. This shows you the particular fix that we've gotten into. Debt upon debt upon debt. We've got a sovereign debt crisis in the United States, and right behind that we have a U.S. dollar currency crisis. And it's what the Fed is doing to print dollars to fight this economic depression that we're in. Give this a look. It should be a real eye-opener to you. The United States has got some serious trouble that must be addressed in the coming years.